Welcome to JohnnyVTV Live here on this Friday, January 27th. It is championship weekend. Join with me is my co-host, Joey Cals. What's up, baby? How we doing?
How we doing, pal?
Same old, man. 3 games left in the NFL season, and it was an up and down season. I won't lie. I think overall the NFL wasn't that great this year outside of a small handful of games. And, I think if we finish strong, that's what it really comes down to. Then people have a better memory of it. And maybe we could hit some of these big futures bets. All I know is February 9th on a Thursday, which is a little surprising. I'm going to be in front of my TV with the biggest bottle of tequila you can imagine, waiting for some of my super futures to get home as I yell at the TV like I never have before. I'm just waiting with bells on. I can't with this. It's just going to be unbelievable.
I think we've had a good postseason so far under the circumstances. Some games have been a little missed. Like last week, the Bengals and Bills game, I think, was really anticipated. And that kind of turned out being a little more of a dud than people thought. But there have been a bunch of good games, a bunch of memorable games. And I like the Final Four this year. A couple of years ago, I thought when it was the year the Saints and the Rams had that call at the end of the game, and then the Chiefs and the Patriots went to overtime. I thought that year those were 4 pretty evenly matched teams. And I think we kind of have the same thing this year. I think these are going to be 2 really close games.
Yeah, this might end up being one of, if not the most evenly matched Final Four in recent memory in the NFL. I really can't remember saying okay, these are definitely the 4 best teams. Look at all these lines. This week you get the Niners 2.5 for the most part, and the Bengals Chiefs is between 1.5 either way most of the week. And then if you go to the look ahead line for the Super Bowl hypotheticals for next or 2 weeks, every line is either 1 or 1.5. It's crazy how close these teams are. It's razor sharp, very small margin of error, and it just goes to show how evenly matched these teams are.
Yeah, I really think Vegas and all the books have absolutely no clue how to lay out these lines and odds. So I think it's difficult for them to hit a figure where they're getting money from both sides where they can come out winners in this. It's crazy. When was the last time you remember every line was 1, right? And it's we'll talk about the conference championship games in a minute, but it's like the Bengals and the Chiefs game that didn't start out how I thought it would. And then the 49ers and the Eagles line, from what I'm seeing, it's kind of going in a direction I didn't think it was going to. So we'll talk about that again shortly, but we have a guest.
We do have a guest. So, of course, it's my good friend, a great friend of the show. And I've been on his podcast a million times, making it a weekly appearance throughout the whole season. And he hosts a great show every Wednesday with Lisa Ann, always talking sports. It's a 3-hour show. I think I'm going to be on it next Wednesday, actually. Welcome on Rick Kamla, a.k.a. Mr. Cam I Am. What's good, buddy? How are we?
Johnny, Joey, what's happening? It is great to be here. Let's talk ATS. Let's break it down. Let's take it in unpredictable directions. Let's have some fun, man. How you guys doing?
We're good, pal. I'm very, very happy. Finally doing a show with you. You always you've seen my podcast partner, Nick. And Nick he's got a lot of personality to him. I think I do too. Not as much as Johnny, though. But this is the first time we're doing this together. I'm very excited, very happy to do this. And it is a pleasure. I really, really enjoy your work, especially the shows with Lisa. I think you two are awesome, having really great chemistry.
Wow, I appreciate all those compliments, Joey. I'll just put them right here and carry them with me, man. I appreciate that. Thank you for those words, man.
So I had to ask, because I didn't have a chance to ask you, are you going to be doing a FSGA in Vegas in a few weeks?
I am not. It's
Dude.
Just, I know, it's just kind of not really on the radar right now. It's one of those things, like if a company said, hey, we're sending you out there and we're going to set you up and fly you out there and that kind of thing, I'd be on the next thing smoking. But that has not been the case. So you guys knock yourselves out there, man, and have some fun.
Can we arrange to get you out there? Like, I don't know. It's gonna be great, man. Everybody in Vegas at one time. I'm all set, man. I'm booked. I'm ready to go. Went out on the Twitter. It's official. The whole kit and caboodle. I'm very excited for this. Vegas, you get to get the whole thing out there. Like, dude, this is gonna be epic. This is gonna be a big time. And
No, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is, man. I gotta call out of too many shows if I'm going out there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the on my own dime thing, and I'm not gigging over here, so it's tough, man. But you guys have fun out there. I can tell you this. I'm about to win the FSGA Fantasy Basketball League. I'll tell you that right now. One of the prime contenders there. I don't know, 17-10, whatever my record is right now. The only reason I've been taking L's is because it's a stupid weekly lineup league where you can't make daily moves and you got to be stuck with a injured guy all week. It drives me crazy. But that's the FSG I'm getting into. I'm trying to kick all these dudes' butts.
I love that. We don't truck with losers here. I hate these leagues that you set your lineup. You set your lineup on like a Monday.
Yeah, Monday. Yeah, and you let it roll the whole week. A lot of leagues. I'm in a 30-team fantasy basketball league. My team is absolutely rock star. I was shredding the league Phoenix Sun style going back to last year. Like literally, it was like me and the rest of the league. And Anthony Davis got hurt. Now Donovan Mitchell's been hurt. Now Steven Adams has blown a tire. And so I'm kind of coming back to the pack a little bit. But this is a weekly lineup league. So this week I have Steven Adams and Donovan Mitchell in my lineup and unable to get them out. And I'm getting savaged in both of my games. But I still plan on getting healthy and winning this thing.
Listen, man, you're Rick Kamla. We don't do losses over here, bro. We don't do losses. But listen, we need your insight for this week because we have two huge games. First, let's start with the NFC here. We have the San Francisco 49ers at the Philadelphia Eagles. There's threes out there. It's mostly 2.5 across the board. You're getting a few shops right now that have gone to 3 with, if you're taking the Niners at +3, you're going to lay like -120 for it. With the 46.5 point total, do you think the Philadelphia Eagles knock this team off that's on a 12-game win streak, or does San Francisco keep this gravy train rolling?
The Philadelphia Eagles this year are 15-1 with Jalen Hurts. So I see your 12-game winning streak, and I raise it with the Eagles have 1 L with Jalen Hurts in the lineup. And he proved to me, guys, last week that he's right. He was back to being Jalen Hurts, running, not worried about the injury. In Week 18, I think he was clearly still worried about that injury. But last week, he was out there doing his thing. He was Jalen Hurts. I mean, the first play of the game, I believe the first pass of the game, what was that deep ball down the field? It was like, here we go. Jalen Hurts is back, threading the needle on a deep ball once again, just like he was, because we didn't see that in Week 18, or at least not enough to have me feeling really good about it. So that was a huge question mark that I had. So Jalen Hurts checked that box, and he goes up against an absolute, dominating defense, the best defense in the league. But I think what a lot of people don't immediately pivot to is the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles have the second best defense in the league, literally right behind the San Francisco 49ers. And JohnnyVTV, I know this is going to be received as an unpopular take because you got your boy Nick Bosa, who should drag home DPOY and win you that super future bet. But he's the best pass rusher of these two teams. But the better pass rush is with Philadelphia. Led the NFL in sacks with 70, 15 more than the next team, Kansas City. I think this weekend comes down to pass rush. And I know we'll get into Kansas City and Cincinnati in a little bit, but this is about heating up Brock Purdy, getting him uncomfortable, getting him in a situation he hasn't been in before. Guys, this is a tough environment. This is at Philadelphia in January, okay? This is big boy stuff. And he's played like a big boy to this point. And I'm not expecting a face plan, a Tony Romo job, a Dak Prescott job, all this kind of stuff. What I think it's going to come down to, guys, is the pass rush by Philly is going to lead to one blink in the stare down from Brock Purdy. He's going to make one mistake. And maybe we get, a couple of bad balls from him. But all it's going to take in a game like this, like 23-20, 20-17 type of game, is one mistake. And I think the Philly pass rush is going to turn Purdy into that mistake.
All right, listen. Here's what I think. I don't disagree with you necessarily because Philadelphia is a great team. They've been a great team all year. And, I think, unfortunately, because of their schedule, because they really haven't beaten a great team. Minnesota is a good team. I don't think they were a great team. That was probably their best win of the season. I think their numbers are skewed. You look at them on paper, they're so legit every which way you look at. They had that hiccup during the season on the ground game as a run defense when Jordan Davis was out of the lineup. Then he comes back, and they're obviously fixing that, right? I just feel like it's a little overvalued here. San Francisco's got an unbelievable offensive line. Trent Williams put on a clinic on Micah Parsons last week. So I would expect him to do that onto a guy like Josh Sweat this week, for instance. But I think where San Francisco finds the edge, I think they're going to be able to get past this beatable Philly secondary. I really do. I think Philadelphia, which you're going to look at, you're going to be like, oh, well, they're one of the best pass defenses in football. They're really good against wide receivers. They've struggled against really good receivers this year. They've struggled against CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin, Hollywood had a good game on them. They've had their moments where they've gotten beaten. I think with guys like Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, they're going to struggle against George Kittle. They haven't faced a tight end like that this year. McCaffrey out of the backfield. The Niners are nothing but show ponies on offense. They have yak daddies at every single position on this roster. And I think this is going to be a very tight game. A lot of people are projecting the Philadelphia Eagles to blow them out. I don't know if Brock Purdy makes that mistake. I really don't. I think Kyle Shanahan's not going to put him in that position to be exposed like that unless they're going to have to play comeback football. I think they're going to pound the ball with McCaffrey and Mitchell, use that short screen game, short pass game, McCaffrey, Kittle, get Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk the ball in space and let them do their thing, because as good as Philly's secondary has looked this year, I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up with those guys all night long for 60 minutes. I think that's where you take advantage of this Eagles defense.
I mean, I like the diagnosis. I do. A couple of things. I think when you're 15-1, with, your main guy, the guy I thought was the MVP of the league before he got hurt, I'm not worried about, the college football game necessarily, where you look at who they beat. And because to me, it's a much bigger sample size in the NFL. It's a good angle, JohnnyVTV. It's just not something I really look at. To me, if you've lost 3 or 4, I want to dive in a little bit more. You got one loss. I mean, it's pretty much just excellence personified against bad teams, good teams, everything in between. And if anybody thinks that this game's going to be a blowout, they haven't been watching football this year. I mean, this is going to be George Foreman and Mike Tyson, George Foreman and, Larry Holmes, like a great bout, Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns, right? JohnnyVTV, this all may be a little bit before you were breathing oxygen here on earth, man, but I'm bringing up some of the great boxing matches of all time. I wish boxing was like that. Now I miss boxing. I don't give a damn about boxing right now. There's nothing going on in the sport that intrigues me, but this is going to be a heavyweight fight, man. I think Jalen Hurts is going to look, I got him number 3. I did a quarterback power rankings, guys. I got Jalen Hurts number 3. Pat Mahomes, no, like number 3. Well, here's the thing. I don't do this based on resume. I mean, who cares, right? Brady's the GOAT, then Rodgers, then whatever. We can do the resume thing. I'm talking about who you want in your uniform right now to win a championship, okay? I would rather have Jalen Hurts than Josh Allen, okay? Josh Allen has proven time and time again that he makes mistakes. Jalen Hurts hasn't proven that yet. He might be that guy, but he might not. He may be that dude we saw in college that won like every game. You know what I'm saying? Because we haven't seen him butcher games like Josh Allen has. And frankly, we haven't seen Brock Purdy butcher games either, okay? And that's why going into this buzzsaw in Philadelphia, look, if Brock Purdy passes this test, who can he beat, right? Because then you're going to go to a neutral field. You'll have KC in their not-so-great defense. You'll have Cincinnati with an above-average defense, but not a great defense, right? And so if you can go into Philly and beat an elite defense in the cold in Philadelphia, I mean, forget about it. Like at that point, I'm probably going to be like, yo, I mean, I got to bet the Niners. Like they literally have checked every box, but I don't see that happening. I think Philly's going to win in a very close game.
I want to make one more quick point here, and then we're going to get to Joe because I want to hear what he has to say. You look how, what's the one game the Eagles lost this year with Jalen Hurts under center? That's the game against the Commanders.
Yes.
Right? So you look at what the Commanders did in that game. They only sacked Jalen Hurts one time that game. I mean, Jalen Hurts threw an interception, and I think they lost 3 fumbles, and it was a big deal here. So they played great defense against the Eagles, but more importantly, they had a bunch of time of possession. They had about 40 minutes in time of possession. That's something San Francisco is capable of doing. They haven't done it every game this year where they're holding on to the ball 37, 38 minutes because they can score in a flash. But they also, when they have to, play time of possession and play keep away. So if the Washington Commanders can do that with a lesser than offense, with running backs not as good as McCaffrey, with receivers outside of McLaurin not as good as what the 49ers have, without a tight end as good. And, Taylor Heineke's a mobile quarterback for what it's worth when he has to be, inside the pocket. I think the Niners can do the exact same thing and replicate that game formula. So I think this is something that where they're going to be studying that kind of tape. And Terry McLaurin put Darius Slay in every other corner that he had to face on that Sunday night in a blender. He had over 120 yards. So I think if they replicate that formula, and San Francisco can run that exact same type of game plan way better than way better than Washington can. So I think that's really where they're going to look at to replicate success and beat the Eagles on the road. And the fact that they can get 3 in some spots, to me, is just outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, I'm laying the 2.5 here with Philly. I think home field advantage is a big deal here, guys. Brock Purdy has not been in a rattle your cage environment like this. He has not ever faced this. He didn't face it at Iowa State. You can't tell me that the Haunts in the Big 12 are up to the level of Philadelphia in January with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. So it's one of those things, guys, like I'm 99% sold on Brock Purdy. That 1% is what has me thinking that we're going to get that mistake from him or multiple mistakes from him in this game in Philadelphia. Like I need to see one more thing to prove that stop doubting this guy, Cam. I got one. He's got to clear one more hurdle for me to say that, and we'll see if he can do it.
Is it my turn?
Hold on one sec. I understand what you're saying. I'm sorry, John.
Why are you slow playing your boy? Why are you slow playing Joey?
I got to get this off before I forget it. I understand what you're saying. People are making a big deal that the Niners, he hasn't gone on the road and really done anything outside of like Seattle and Vegas. Fine. But he hasn't really had the opportunity to do so. The Niners lost only 2 games on the road, one of which was against Atlanta in Atlanta when the entire defensive line was out that game. So I understand what you're saying, but basically what you're trying to tell me is you have to see it before you're going to bet it.
No, it's just that he's given us no reason to doubt him. There's no question about that. He's given us 0 reason to doubt him. Okay. I know how this NFL playoff thing goes. And I've seen guys who are feckless going into an environment like this and not be feckless in that environment. You know what I'm saying? And I think that is a big step up in class, going from the road opponents he's faced to this situation right here with all of those chips in the middle of the table. Guys, I've been shocked before about a guy getting into a moment like this, and he's got maybe not the deer in the headlights. That's too strong here. But like he cracks in that moment of truth. I've seen it before where you're like, oh my God, this guy's perfect. And then there it is. There's that big mistake. So, and I think it's going to happen this week. And I think that Philly pass rush is going to be the reason why.
Yeah, but I honestly think what everybody's pointing to Purdy about is, he's not used to this pressure. He's not used to this moment. That's true. Like he hasn't been on a game in this stage. But what everybody's forgetting is all he's been doing and tasked of doing is running Kyle Shanahan's system. Stay within the system. You make a couple plays where you have to. Don't turn the ball over. And that's
where the Philly defense comes in. Okay, he's been comfortable and cozy and in the lazy boy chair with his remote control and his beer and his popcorn watching Monday Night Football. That ain't going to happen at Philadelphia. They are going to make life difficult for him, right? I don't know. That's just how I see it. I think they have the ability to get him off kilter. Nobody yet has had the ability to get him off kilter. I think Philly has that ability to do so.
That's certainly a fair point. What do you think, Joe?
Well, I'm going to start off by saying I think you guys are both right in your own ways. 2 of the best pass rushes in all of football, right? So first things first here is this over-under opened up at, I'm seeing 45.5, and apparently it's being bet up. I think that's the wrong way. I think this is going to be a relatively low-scoring game. I think both of these defenses are going to do a good job of keeping each other's offenses well within means. I don't think you're going to see a lot of big plays in this game. And I think the Giants defense was ill-equipped last week to take advantage of Jalen Hurts not playing over a month. So if you want a little bit of a prop here, because you guys haven't really talked about any props, I'm seeing something offshore here. And Johnny, you know I love my offshore props. Over 5.5 sacks in the game total, plus 105. I think that number is going to get hit because I think both of these guys are going to, both of these lines are going to be able to get to Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts. So if I'm thinking that this is a low scoring game, if I'm thinking that both of these offenses are going to kind of get mucked up a little bit, right? Who do I trust more to start doing the creative things necessary in order to open up this game enough to win? And I have seen Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Kyle Shanahan in this spot before, right? We did it a couple years ago with Jimmy G, right? The offensive line since then relatively stayed the same. They've upgraded in the backfield with Christian McCaffrey. You're going to see McCaffrey in a lot of different looks because he did not have a good game against Dallas. Wasn't quite a difference maker. Deebo didn't really do well either last week. He had a couple carries, but he didn't really do anything with it. So in order, I think for the 49ers to win this game, Johnny, we always say this with San Francisco, they got to get creative. A lot of end arounds, right? Try to get McCaffrey in space. But I also think the 49ers are excellent at utilizing short passes. And I think the short passes are going to neutralize the Eagles' pass rush a little bit. So this started at, 49ers. I forgot what it started at early in the week, but I got them at plus 125 money line to win the game. I think the 49ers are going to the Super Bowl because I don't think that the Eagles – sorry, Rick. I don't think that the Eagles have played a team as good as this 49ers team all year. And I think, and I'm not even worried about Brock Purdy. You know, to your point, what would you say? Hey, Hurts and the Eagles are 15-1 when he starts. Well, Brock Purdy and the 49ers are 7-0. And they've beaten some good teams in that stretch. And, you know, Purdy hasn't looked out of place one bit. So, but I do think both of these games are toss-ups. Because, you know, the closest we've seen in a while, at least 3 or 4 years, like I said at the top, that year that we saw the Rams and the Saints and the Chiefs and the Patriots and that game go to overtime, I feel like we're destined here for just like two really, really close, evenly matched games that come down to either the final scores or even into overtime.
I agree with that, man. I agree with that. Let me bounce off you guys. You guys are both making awesome points. And I go back and forth about the 5.5 sack thing because the Niners offensive line is badass. The Eagles probably have the best set of tackles in the NFL with Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. So that makes it tough, but pardon me, guys. I do see a relatively low scoring game. I do see defensive plays being made in this football game, more defensive plays than offensive plays. So I'm really conflicted on that. I'm also really conflicted on the total here, guys. I got 23-20. I got 43 points. The number's 45.5. That's not like enough separation, enough of a ooh for me to go, yeah, I'm going to play it. It's within 2.5 points. That's literally a feather in the National Football League. But you said something, Joey, that triggered a thought in my brain about end arounds and getting creative and all this kind of stuff. I want to just bounce this thought, like just in an NFL nerd way off you guys. My favorite play in the NFL right now is 4th and 1 jet sweep to your speedy wide receiver. How do you stop that? You've got to play the run because it's all bunched up. They time it so beautifully that they snap, turn, guy's got the rock, and he's already at the edge before you even know what's going on. And the guy gets 5 yards, right? It doesn't care. It's not going to be like a long gainer, but it's like so money. Jet sweep to Tyreek Hill, jet sweep to CeeDee Lamb, jet sweep to Deebo Samuel. It's my favorite play in the NFL right now. It's the jet sweep on a 4th and 1.
Year, was it not, with Cooper Kupp?
Yep. Exactly.
That was such a ballsy play. I think one thought here on the total. All 4 unders hit last week. Everybody's expecting a lot of points. I see this Niners Eagles game the same way as I saw the Niners-Dallas game. I think it's pretty much on par. I think it's going to end up being like I really don't think it's going to get past like 38 points, this total. I feel like this is something like a 21 to 17 game, maybe something along those lines where it comes down late, or maybe 2017. And I think it's just going to be a slugfest. It's going to be whoever blinks first. And obviously the success of scoring touchdowns in the red zone, not field goals, like, you know, that's always something of note. And listen, I think my biggest thing is compare last year. The Eagles sneak in as the 7th seed. They go down to Tampa and they get cracked. No expectations. Like, all right, listen, it's our first year with Sirianni, Jalen Hurts. We're just kind of seeing what works. We've had success. We're finding ways to win, and now we're in the playoffs. Fast forward to 2022. They end up getting the number 1 seed. Jalen Hurts was a bona fide MVP frontrunner before he goes down. Nick Sirianni was coach of the year favorite all year long. Number 1 seed has expectations. Their goal is to win it all. Nothing else, Super Bowl or bust. This is a big difference from what they know. This is a very young skill group in terms of playing in these big games. Only A.J. Brown's really played in big games in the playoffs before. And I think the fact is,
big games in college football don't matter. National championship games don't matter. I think those games matter, man, for Devontae Smith.
Listen, they matter, but it's not the NFL. It's a little bit different. So
I think the Purdy translate to this game. A question is way larger than is Devontae Smith going to translate at home in a January playoff game.
But I'm saying Jalen Hurts too, because the thing is, Jalen Hurts is asked to do a lot more than Brock Purdy is. Jalen Hurts is the engine that runs the Philadelphia Eagles. Brock Purdy is not. Brock Purdy is.
But Hurts is an MVP candidate. Like, he's that dude,
yeah,
man.
But that's what I'm saying. He has more pressure on him. Purdy's playing loose right now. Purdy is play within the system. Drop back maybe 25 to 28 times. Don't turn the ball over. Make a couple key third downs and get the ball short to your tight ends, receivers, and Christian McCaffrey. That's it. He's not asked to be handling the rock 45 times like Jalen Hurts probably has to. So I think the expectations and the pressure is something that is not being talked about. Plus, I still give a significant coaching advantage to Shanahan over Sirianni. And we all know I hate Shanahan because he took a Super Bowl away from my Falcons. But, you know, if he's going to blow a call, it's going to be in the Super Bowl, not in the NFC Championship game. So I think that's a big edge that the 49ers have over Philadelphia.
I disagree. What can I say? I'm a huge Kyle Shanahan fan. I think he has the best play designs and the best play calling in the NFL. Doug Peterson's in that conversation. Andy Reid is in that conversation. Sean McVay is in that conversation. I love their stuff, right? It's like watching the Golden State Warriors play basketball. They run the best plays in basketball. It's gorgeous basketball to watch. And I'll give you that there's a coaching advantage, but I don't think it's huge. And the expectation thing, I don't think matters. This is the NFC Championship game. And here's the thing with Purdy and loosey-goosey and all that. It's true, but it's not, because the 49ers went to the NFC title game last year, lost, obviously. 3 years ago, whatever it was, went to the Super Bowl. And that's this regime. That's John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, a lot of the same players. So they're not just looking at that, hey, let's just fart around and go to Philly and see if we can win. There's a ton of pressure on them. I mean, think about it. Seems to me that there's more of a you guys tell me you're more aware of this stuff. I'm basically in an NBA lab most of the week and blessed to be there. But I don't know. I feel like there's more love coming in on San Fran than there is coming in on Philadelphia. And you guys can prove me wrong on that.
Not at all.
Okay, so is that true? Is there more love on San Fran, or is there more overall love for Philly?
There's over 75% of the money's coming in on Philly. People have been on Philly all week, and we're getting this line up to 3 in some spots. And
good number.
A lot of people aren't showing San Fran love. And I got to be honest, the public versus the Sharps hasn't really. It's not the end all be all. Like, the Sharps loved Buffalo last week, and I know that was the biggest fool trap play of all time.
With the offensive line and the 3 guys out and all that.
We're not going to rehash it, because I don't need to get into I was right and everybody else was wrong mode. I just think San Francisco, it's hard for me to picture them getting back to the NFC Championship and losing again. Like, this is the same group of guys as last year.
It's hard for me to see Joe Burrow beating Pat Mahomes 4 times. It's hard for me to see Cincinnati 2 years in a row going to Arrowhead and winning a playoff game with a chance to go to the Super Bowl on the line. We all love Cincinnati. I love Burrow. I've been here since the bottom on Burrow, LSU days. I get it. Like, the guy's a beast. I've been comparing him to Joe Montana and Tom Brady for years, okay? Like, he's that dude. But look, they may have some advantages over KC and this kind of thing. And I believe that KC does have some advantages, especially with their pass rush this week, but which is very, very good. But, guys, sometimes we just have these overall vibes, right? I just don't see Cincinnati beating the Chiefs in Kansas City 2 playoffs in a row. That's not how this goes. You know what I mean? That's just not how this goes. That Cincinnati just suddenly is going to be dominant and just walk in there and woodshed that every single time. That's not how this goes, man. I feel like the law of averages, what goes around comes around, the regression to the mean, all of that is super in favor of Kansas City this week.
Did our guest just do a transition for us?
He just did a transition.
He just did a transition.
That was just a random thought.
Awesome.
No, listen, I totally agree with you. I early was on Cincinnati because early in the week, like Monday, Cincinnati was the underdog. Cincinnati was getting like 2 points, and I'm like, you know what? I like this, and I have stake in both sides of the coin. I personally would benefit a little bit more financially if the Chiefs win than the Bengals, but I mean, Cincinnati.
So are you a 2-1 and play in the middle on that?
No, I can't because I have Kansas City to win the Super Bowl that I bought before the playoffs started, and I have Joe Burrow Super Bowl MVP.
Aha.
So I can't really middle that, and my whole thing is, all right, well,
I thought you were middling the point spread here this week. Like, it started here and now it's there, and you play both sides of that.
It's like not in the middle though. It's 1.5 points. I don't really, I don't really think I'm going to get much of an edge on that one. But real quick, before we fully transition to this game, one thing I was really upset about in the Eagles-Niners game. So I was looking at the props like yesterday morning. To lead the whole weekend in receiving yards, Devontae Smith was 18-1. I looked like an hour ago. He's down to 7.5-1. It was demoralizing because I love Devontae Smith to have a big game this week. I think A.J. Brown's been kind of like upset about it, but Smith's been really good the last 6 weeks. He's been on fire. And I think San Francisco is going to be busy with A.J. Brown. And Smith is going to be able to take advantage of a lot of one-on-one matchups because, like the Eagles, the Niners in the secondaries where you can take advantage. And San Francisco's lit up some big receiving performances this season. I was really bummed out. So I thought Devontae Smith at 18-1 was a steal. But now you got to take him at 7.5-1, and that's just very upsetting.
Well, I'm huge on Devontae Smith this week, and A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert. I think all 3 of those guys are going to have not Justin Jefferson games, but I think they're going to get the job done. I looked up these stats. San Francisco is probably the best defense in the NFL at limiting rushing by quarterbacks. They're awesome at that. That obviously is a direct collision with Jalen Hurts, one of the great running quarterbacks that we've had in the last decade in the league. But I favor more San Francisco on that a little bit. Look, it's probably going to go back and forth. Like if Hurts has 35 yards, right? Like that's a decently productive game, but Hurts needs like 55 on the ground with a touch, right? And I'm not sure he's going to get that against San Fran. So the way that you can operate against San Fran is through the air. And Hurts has been diming all year long, guys. He's given us no reason to expect any kind of blinks and any kind of interruptions here. He's just been a badass, and the low interception rate and all this all year long. Devontae Smith, he reminds me of Antonio Brown, and not necessarily body type or personality, but he lives open. He's always open. At Alabama, literally, guys, he would have the entire side of the field to himself. And you're like, oh, my God, this guy's going to win the Heisman. How is he this wide open? It's because he's that freaking good, okay? He's smart, great route runner, electrically quick, and he just leaves dudes behind him. So I just wanted to double down on that right there. I love Devontae Smith. I love his matchup this week, and whatever his receiving yard prop is, what is it, 74.5, 69.5, something like that. I would definitely go over that.
That's a good look. That's why, his 66.5, when I was looking at it, I love the over. I think he's probably good for 100. Maybe look at the alt. That's why I was looking at to lead the league the weekend in receiving yards. So that's an interesting one for sure. But Joe, I don't want you to feel left out, my man. So why don't you kick it off for the next game, the Sunday nighter? This is going to be the last piece of the puzzle. Cincinnati Bengals at Kansas City Chiefs, who are now 1.5-point favorites with a crazy topsy-turvy line movement throughout the week. Bring us home. Who wins this one?
Wait, you're seeing the Bengals are the favorites now?
No, Cincinnati.
Oh, wait, Cincinnati, you just said, right?
Yeah. Yep.
They're the favorites?
No, Kansas City's the favorite.
Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. Yeah, I grabbed Bengals money line at the beginning of the week, and I'm feeling confident about that. So I'm going to disagree with you both. The fact that they've won 3 times in a row does not bother me whatsoever. The Burrowhead Stadium, kind of the trash talk, that does give me a little bit pause, because in any instance where you see teams kind of start doing that, right, it always tends to go the other way and give the other side a little bit of momentum. But I saw everything that I needed to in that Buffalo game last week. Johnny, you and I were on that. We loved the Bengals last week. You loved them a little more than I did. I quite wasn't as confident with them, but I think you had the money line. So kudos to you. You nailed that. I just think right now, this Bengals team has so many different ways to beat you. And I think what kind of has gone a little bit, under the radar is the fact that not only is Joe Burrow capable of torching teams, but like on the ground, even with that, and shout out to Corey last week, because he said this too. He goes, every week, everybody says something about the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line. And every week, guess what? It doesn't matter. Last week against the Bills, against a really great defensive line, the Cincinnati Bengals had 172 total rushing yards. Joe Mixon had 105 of them, right? So I'm looking at this matchup, right? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, how did the game flow go last year? Cincinnati went down by multiple scores, and guess what? It didn't matter. I think the game flow of this game is going to be very, very, very different. I think it's going to be more of a back and forth type of game, as opposed to one side going down early. And I think over time here, as we've seen, Mixon, Chase, Higgins, Boyd, Pirine, Hayden Hurst is going to be healthy for that game, and he caught a touchdown on Sunday against the Bills last week. I just think the Bengals have so many different ways to beat you. And do they necessarily have the best defense? No. But they slowed Josh Allen down last week, and they only scored 10 points. And that was a little bit shocking to me. The fact that game was so one-sided. I love what Zach Taylor's doing. I think he quietly is running one of the best programs in all of football. Nobody describes it. Nobody talks about it. I jumped at the opportunity to get the Bengals here because I wasn't sure how the line was going to move. And it really hasn't budged. I mean, it started out as 1 and now it's 1.5. That's where you can get it in most places. So I don't even think it's that much of a difference here, betting one way or the other. But what I will say is last year, a lot of people expected points, a lot of points, and they didn't necessarily get a lot of points, right? So this figure, I think it's 47.5 now, some 48 in some places. I do expect a game similar to the game that was last year. I don't expect the Bengals to go down by 2 or 3 touchdowns. I don't expect the Chiefs to go down by 2 or 3 touchdowns, but I do expect this to be a very, very close game. And it's like I said, I'm not worried that the Bengals have beaten the Chiefs 3 times in a row. I think it's going to be 4 times in a row because I think right now they are the better team, and I think they've been the best team in the AFC quietly for the last 6 weeks, and nobody's really talked about it.
I like everything you're saying right there. I mean, I'm an advocate for Cincinnati most weeks. This is not one of them. I like the over, guys, in this game, and you all know me. From my work over at Bettor Sports Network conversations that we've had, I'm not a big total guy in the NFL. It's very random. The NFL odds makers usually dial it in right to the number. It's hard to find an advantage. I have found. I feel much better on picking a side, but I really like the over this week, guys. Like, I really like it. And I don't usually get a total tickle, but I'm getting a total tickle right now that I see touchdowns in this game. Look, I got 34-31. I think we're going to get a high-scoring game. I think we're going to get a juicy, delicious football game. But even if we don't, 27-24 kind of thing. That's 51 points. We're going over on that number. Like, even like a mid to high 20s game on each side is taking us over here. Cincinnati's defense is above average. It is. It's not great, though. I'm not sure it's even top 10, but it's above average. It's on the, on the right side of the middle of the pack. But this is at KC with Mahomes, okay? They're not like San Fran or Philadelphia or a defense that could, or maybe even New England to a point with Bill Belichick that could like mastermind you. Like a defense that you feared. You're like, oh my God, like they actually could really limit Pat Mahomes. Cincinnati's not that defense. And on the other side, Kansas City, they're good at stopping the run and they're good at rushing the passer. And we understand these things. And those are their ability to rush the passer, I think, is going to be felt this week against Burrow. Maybe a play here, maybe a play there. But Kansas City is going to give up chunk plays to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd and Hayden Hurst. It's going to happen. So to me, this is going to be and I like a high-scoring game this time, even more because it was low-scoring last time. Okay, we're playing the same game 2 years in a row. We're not going to get the same football game that we got last year. So I think we are going to get an ooh and ah fireworky kind of game here. I like Kansas City. I'll lay the points, but I actually feel better about the total here than I do playing the side, and that's very rare for me.
Yeah, this is a tough one, man, because Cincinnati has beaten Kansas City in 3 straight appearances, all in the 2022 calendar year. 4 times in a row is very difficult on the road. And, Cincinnati's been that team where they've been getting a ton of public love for the better part of 10 weeks. Every single week, they've been getting like 68 or more % of the tickets. One of the biggest public sides along with Seattle, and it hasn't mattered. They've been coming home. They've been the best team against the spread all year long. And I totally understand it. I feel like this is Kansas City's time. I feel like they're due. I don't think they're going to lose 2 years in a row in the playoffs to the Cincinnati Bengals. And listen, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be upset if the Bengals win. I could totally see it happening because it's happened 3 times in a row. But I feel like Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, they're going to find a way. And if there's one place right now on paper that's been beatable against this Bengals defense, it's been with tight ends. They allow top 10 most catches and yards. And, of course, Travis Kelce's kind of been blanketed by them. But I do think that they're going to have a trick up their sleeve. It's going to be another game that comes down to the wire. And it really all depends on how Kansas City defends Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, because that has been the kryptonite for them. Jamar Chase has been able to cook this Chiefs defense, and this is the reason why the Bengals have been prevailing every time they've played. So I just think Kansas City makes one more play. I like the Bengals when they were getting like 2 points, 2.5 points. But I think the Chiefs, man, I just think they find a way to get it done. This is truly a very difficult decision for me because it is a coin flip game. You could literally flip a coin for this one. Cam, we know you got to go. We really appreciate you stopping by, JohnnyVTV Live, and I'll see you next Wednesday when I come on with you and Lisa Ann.
I can't wait. Johnny V, the podcast looks great, everything like this. Happy for your success, my friend. Joey, great to meet you face to face. We've been working with each other on this kind of thing, but great to meet you face to face. Chop up some football with you guys, break down these games. Bottom line, man, good luck to you two guys. I'm down in Florida and I can't bet. I got big opinions and I love talking about it, but I can't bet. So you guys, good luck to you guys and all the wagers you're playing, and be well, and we'll talk very soon.
Absolutely, man.
Sounds good, Rick.
All right,
Rick Kamla, the great Rick Kamla. Thank you so much for joining us. And, he's the best. This guy's the best. I remember the first time I went on with him, probably like October. I felt like I had instant chemistry with the guy. He's a true pro. He's the best, man. He's an old timer. Well, not old, but he's been in the business for a long time. So it's definitely great as a younger guy to be able to work with somebody like that. So, Joe, as we're wrapping up here, I want to give you the Gambling Giddy's best betting trend of the weekend. So, obviously, I like the Niners. I would take the 3. I would take the money line. And I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of betting this weekend because, like last weekend, I have a ton in the futures market. And, listen, you want to get a little action on something. I was going to do a Bengals 49ers money line parlay last week because I felt great about it. And I didn't do it. And I was really upset. And, maybe the same kind of thing this weekend. But my best play here would be a little teaser with the Bengals getting 7.5 and the 49ers getting 9. Because the fact is you're getting Niners past the key number of one full possession. Same thing with the Bengals, where I think this is going to be a field goal game. I think both of them probably end up being field goal games. And you're able to get this amount of points for two teams that very well could end up winning and pulling off the upset. So I feel like that at like a minus 120 or even minus 130 on a FanDuel, whatever you're going to get, I feel like that's definitely the place that you got to go and lay that number. That's definitely my best play of the week here. Let's do a little Emerge Player of the Night brought to you by Emerge Sports Group, our boy Jay Hen. I'm going with Devontae Smith, wide receiver, Philadelphia Eagles. He's been insane over the last couple of months. He's outshining A.J. Brown on a consistent basis. And even though we saw a little blow up from A.J. Brown and he's performed in big games before, I just think the way Devontae Smith is operating, he's getting a lot of single coverages. And when he does, he's been exploiting the matchups, Joe. And while I expect A.J. Brown to have a good game, I think because the way San Francisco has been beatable in the secondary, their pass defense is the weakness by far. I think that's why Devontae Smith's going to have a bigger game in this one. But as we're wrapping up here, Joe, give me your final thoughts heading into Conference Championship Sunday.
I'm going to make you proud because the parlay that you didn't want to do last week, the 49ers and the Bengals, I did it this week.
Yeah.
I really think rough. The Dogs, I think they're going to come out one last time on championship weekend. I really, really do think we're going to get a 49ers and Bengals Super Bowl, and we could have gotten it last year. And your Rams kind of pulled that game out in the third quarter and the fourth quarter, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl. Two really quality games, too, against the Niners and the Bengals back-to-back. But, yeah, I think we're going to get Broadway Joe Burrow. Doesn't sound right. And Brock Purdy. I really like what I'm seeing from the 49ers. And I don't think I mentioned this to Rick before he hopped off. But how many times have we seen the Eagles play from behind this season? Not a lot, right? Doesn't it feel like they're going to go behind at some point in this game? I want to see how they respond to that. Because I think it's different. When you're down by 3, 4, 7 in a playoff game and it's the third quarter and not everything's been going your way and everything's been going your way all season and you accumulate 400 yards every game and you're beating teams by 2 or 3 touchdowns. I like San Fran. I do. And I think the Bengals and the Chiefs is a total toss-up, and I like the value with the Bengals in that game. So
that's a fair point. I'm looking forward to this. Quick final thought here, not football related, baseball related. I gave out a great long shot futures bet. I love Hunter Green to as a ticket to win the NL Cy Young at 100-1. I think this kid is unbelievable. He's got top 20 stuff in the major leagues, maybe even top 15. That's very debatable. With a fastball that profiles over 100 miles an hour, razor sharp slide piece that he gets 37% whiff rate on. Tremendous break on it with a changeup that's good. He throws 5% of the time that he's going to continue developing. But if you look at what he did his last 6 starts of the 2022 season, 35 and a third innings, 51 strikeouts, only 4 earned runs and 8 walks. The home runs and the walks is what tormented him in his, for most of the season last year. I think he's going to figure it out. I think he's going to build off that great momentum. And the best part about the Cy Young, dude, you do not have to be on a winning team. Sandy Alcantara won it on the 4th place Marlins.
And he was deserving of it. He was the best pitcher last year, and they got it right. Love when they get it right.
And I think Green could be that guy. My fair price for him is 45-1. I feel like he had 164 Ks last year and only 125 and 2/3. So I think if he can up those innings to about 175, 180, and keep that K through 9 somewhere between 11.5 to 12, he might not only lead the NL in strikeouts, but the MLB should probably notch at least 230, maybe more. I would guess more in the 240, 250 range. So I think Green is definitely the guy to take a ticket on, and you get him on DraftKings at that number. And I'm really looking forward to watching that guy pitch this year because he was drafted number 2 overall in 2017 out of high school for a reason. But we really appreciate you joining us here. We went a little bit longer than expected, but best of luck this weekend. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. I'm at _JohnnyVTV. He's at JCalabrese1. Stay tuned. We'll see you next week. We're going to talk a little bit of college baseball with a special guest before we get into some Super Bowl picks. Have a good weekend.